The fluorescent lights of Morrison Tech's executive floor flickered as Sarah Chen gripped her phone, her knuckles white against the sleek glass case. Outside her corner office, 3 shadows moved through the parking garage, shadows that had been following her for the past week. She'd built a fortune worth millions, revolutionized the tech industry before turning 35, and sat on boards that shaped the future. But right now, none of that mattered. Right now, she was simply prey. Meanwhile, 6 blocks away in a cramped studio apartment, James Mitchell was braiding his daughter Emma's hair for the 3rd time. The 7-year-old sat patiently on their second-hand couch, swinging her legs as her father's calloused fingers worked through the tangles with surprising gentleness, the same hands that had once performed a very different kind of delicate work, in a very different life. "Daddy, you're thinking too hard again," Emma said, catching his reflection in the window. "Your worry wrinkles are showing." James smiled despite himself. "Worry wrinkles, huh? When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You're just now noticing." He kissed the top of her head, finished the braid, and checked his watch. His night shift at Morrison Tech's security desk started in 40 minutes. It wasn't glamorous work, nothing like before, but it paid enough to keep them fed, housed, and Emma in a decent school. That was all that mattered after her mother left, after the accident that had stolen his career, after everything had fallen apart and rebuilt itself into this small, precious life of just the 2 of them. Sarah's assistant had left hours ago, along with most of the building's staff. She'd stayed late reviewing acquisition proposals, as she always did, because excellence demanded sacrifice. Her ex-husband had told her that obsession wasn't the same as dedication. He'd been wrong about many things, but maybe not that. The parking garage security camera had gone dark 2 days ago. Maintenance promised to fix it. They hadn't. Now she understood why. Someone had paid them not to. The hostile takeover attempt, the threatening emails, the mysterious investors who wanted her company badly enough to destroy her if necessary. She'd dismissed it all as corporate intimidation. She'd been wrong. Her hand hovered over 911, but something stopped her. The messages had been clear. Involve the police, and the photos they had of her teenage niece would go public. Fabricated, manipulated, but convincing enough to ruin a young girl's life before the truth came out. Sarah had built her empire by understanding leverage. Now someone was using it against her. She had one choice: walk through that garage to her car and hope she was wrong about everything. James arrived at Morrison Tech with Emma in tow. His neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, who usually watched her during his shifts, had been rushed to the hospital with chest pains. The security supervisor had grudgingly agreed to let Emma stay in the break room, provided she remained quiet and invisible. "Remember what I told you?" James asked as they entered through the employee entrance. "Stay in the break room, finish my homework, don't talk to strangers, and if there's any emergency, I run to you first." Emma recited it like a multiplication table. "That's my girl." He settled her with her books and a sandwich, then took his position at the main security desk. The monitors showed mostly empty corridors, a few late working souls scattered across 15 floors. His eyes tracked them habitually, the old training kicking in despite years of rust. Movement patterns, body language, anomalies, his brain still processed it all, even though he'd sworn never to use those skills again. Then he saw her on camera. 3. Sarah Chen, CEO, 4th floor, heading toward the executive elevator that led to the parking garage. And behind her, 3 floors down, 3 men entering the stairwell with purpose in their stride. His pulse quickened. Maybe it was nothing. Except one of them had adjusted something at his waistband with the particular gesture of someone checking a concealed weapon. James had seen that movement 1,000 times in his old life, the life before Emma, before he'd walked away from government work that paid 6 figures but cost pieces of his soul. The men moved fast. Too fast. Coordinated. Sarah's finger hovered over the elevator button. James grabbed his radio. "Mike, you seeing this?" 3 males, south stairwell, moving aggressive toward the garage. Static. Then Mike's bored voice, probably maintenance. "Relax, Mitchell." "Mike, I really think." "I said relax. Stop trying to be a hero. You're a security guard, not a cop." The radio went silent. James watched the monitors as the 3 men emerged into the garage 30 seconds after Sarah's elevator doors closed. His hands moved before his brain caught up, pulling up the garage cameras, tracking Sarah's position. She was walking toward her Mercedes, heels clicking on concrete, unaware of the three figures approaching from different angles, cutting off escape routes with tactical precision. Every instinct screamed at him. Walk away. Not your problem. Think of Emma. Think of the quiet life you've built. Think of all the reasons you left that world behind. He thought of Emma. Of the kind of man he wanted her to believe he was. James ran. He burst through the stairwell door, taking stairs 3 at a time, his body remembering movements his mind had tried to forget. The garage level. Through the door. Sarah was 50 feet away, frozen as the 3 men closed in. Their leader was talking, his voice bouncing off concrete pillars. Ms. Chen, you should have sold when you had the chance. You need to leave, James said, his voice carrying the quiet authority that comes from absolute certainty. All 4 turned to stare at this security guard in an ill-fitting uniform who'd just interrupted a carefully planned operation. The leader laughed. This doesn't concern you, rent-a-cop. Walk away. Can't do that. James moved forward, positioning himself between Sarah and her attackers. His body language shifted, subtle but complete, from hesitant guard to something else entirely. The leader's smile faltered. Last chance, the man said, reaching for his waistband. What happened next took 7 seconds but would replay in Sarah's memory for years. James moved like water, like violence made graceful, like someone who'd been trained when and how to break the human body with maximum efficiency and minimal waste. The first man's gun clattered away before he'd fully drawn it. The second lunged and found himself airborne, crashing into a concrete pillar with a sickening thud. The leader managed to clear his weapon but James was already inside his guard. A precise strike to the wrist, a sweep of his legs, and suddenly the most dangerous man in the garage was on his back, disarmed, with a security guard's knee on his chest and his own gun pointed at his face. Don't move, James said quietly. His hands were shaking now, adrenaline and old memories flooding through him. Ms. Chen, please call 911. Sarah, who'd negotiated billion-dollar deals without flinching, who'd stared down boardrooms full of men who wanted her to fail, found herself unable to speak. She managed a nod and pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. The police arrived within minutes. Someone had already called them, it turned out. Mike, the supervisor, watching the monitors, finally understanding that something serious was happening. The 3 men were arrested. The conspiracy unraveled quickly once they realized prison time was certain. They'd been hired by Richard Vance, a rival CEO who'd wanted Morrison Tech's proprietary AI software and saw intimidation as cheaper than innovation. Paramedics checked Sarah for shock. Police took statements. And through it all, James stood to the side, arms crossed, wanting desperately to check on Emma but knowing he couldn't leave until officially dismissed. Who are you? Sarah finally asked him when the chaos settled into something resembling order. Really? James met her eyes. I'm a dad. I work security. That's all. That's not all. Those moves, that training, I know fighters, I have a black belt myself. You're not just some guard. He was quiet for a long moment. I used to work for the government. Specialized security. But I got out when my daughter was born. That life, it's not compatible with being the father she deserves. Tonight was just. He trailed off. I couldn't walk away. Why not? Most people would have. Because Emma's watching. Maybe not tonight, maybe not directly, but she's always watching. Every choice I make teaches her what kind of person to be. I want her to learn that when someone needs help, you help. Even when it's scary. Even when it costs you. Sarah felt something crack open in her chest, some wall she'd built brick by brick over years of ruthless ambition. I need to thank you properly. Let me. No need. James finally smiled. Just maybe get that garage camera fixed. Wait. Sarah pulled out a business card, wrote something on the back. My direct line. I'm serious about the thank you. And, she hesitated. Morrison Tech has a scholarship program. For employees' children. Full ride, kindergarten through college. I'd like Emma to be part of it. James stared at the card. I can't accept that. It's too much. You saved my life. My niece's reputation. My company. It's not nearly enough. Sarah's voice was firm now, back in CEO mode. Besides, something tells me Emma's exactly the kind of smart, brave kid who deserves every opportunity. Like her father. Before James could argue further, his radio crackled. "Mitchell, your daughter's asking for you." She heard the commotion. He looked torn, but Sarah nodded. "Go. We'll talk more. And James, thank you for being exactly the kind of person the world needs more of." James found Emma in the break room, textbook still open, trying to look brave despite her worried eyes. He scooped her up, held her tight, felt her small arms wrap around his neck. "Daddy, are you okay? I heard the sirens." "I'm fine, sweetheart. Everything's fine now. Did you help someone?" He pulled back to look at her face. "Yeah, actually, I did." Emma studied him with 7-year-old wisdom. "Good. That's what heroes do, right? Help people even when it's hard." James felt his eyes sting. That's exactly what heroes do. The next morning, Sarah Chen held a company-wide meeting. She announced new security protocols, thanked the police and first responders, and quietly mentioned that sometimes heroes wear security uniforms instead of capes. James, standing at the back of the room with Emma beside him, school was closed for a teacher work day, felt his face burn with embarrassment as people turned to look. But Emma squeezed his hand, beaming with pride, and he realized something profound. He'd spent years running from who he used to be, afraid that violence and darkness defined him. But last night proved that skills weren't inherently good or evil. They were tools. What mattered was the heart guiding the hand, the choice to stand rather than walk away, the decision to risk comfort for someone else's safety. 6 months later, James accepted Sarah's offer to head Morrison Tech's corporate security division, a position that paid enough for a real apartment with Emma's own room, that used his skills without compromising his soul. Sarah became not just his boss but his friend, and eventually, something more, though that's another story. But on quiet nights, when Emma was asleep and the world felt both fragile and infinite, James would remember that moment in the parking garage. Not the violence, but the choice before it. The instant when he could have stayed safe and silent but chose instead to run toward danger because a stranger needed help. That choice, that single moment of selfless courage, had changed everything. Not just for Sarah or Emma, but for James himself. It had shown him that redemption isn't about erasing who you were, but about choosing who you'll become. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is simply refuse to walk away.